No, we talked to Jay Rosen about this a while back, about the press, like usually leveraging surrogates with what Trump says, but they have divorced themselves from this. Like, let's play this clip. This is an interview that a Politico reporter, Nahal Tuzi, had an exchange with a Trump advisor, James Carafano. I guess he's a foreign policy advisor, or he's not. He's saying, I'm not really an advisor. But this is fascinating because, again, this is a perfect example of what Jay Rosen, that professor from Columbia, I think it is, right? On the media, on like how the media doesn't know how to operate with something like this. And here is this guy, Carafano, basically saying, like, you can't take the president too seriously. And the reporter's just like, what? What are you talking about?
Focus on what they do, not the tweets. I mean, that's the reality of, you cannot do foreign policy. I mean, if I went to you and I said,
sorry,
wait,
I just have to call you on it.
If I went to you,
if I went, to sit there and say not to listen to what he is saying,
I mean, you can
what
listen
he
to
is
him.
writing, what he is. I mean,
okay,
that is
look,
absurd.
Let me ask you a question. Can you make foreign policy by
Pause
tweets?
it.
Of course.
What I really like, and just dial back, is this guy is getting totally into her face, like in a, this shit is just, go ahead.
Okay,
that is
look,
absurd.
Let me ask you a question. Can you make foreign policy by tweets? Of course you can't.
Yes,
so then why
of course you can.
So then, of course you can't. Good luck with that. Go do it then. Go forth.
Okay.
You cannot make foreign policy in 140 characters. You can't do that. And you have,
But
if you think of all the, wait, let me finish. You think of all the instruments of national power. You think of all the weeks and months it takes to put to international conferences and agreements and negotiations and everything else. Do you think all that can be supplanted?
Then why say anything at all?
Can I finish? Do you think why can that be supplanted by a tweet? And the answer is, of course it can.
Why is he tweeting at all then?
Well, that's
why
why don't you ask the president? It's not my job. I don't care.
But you're advising him on foreign policy.
I'm not advising him on foreign. I've given him briefings on foreign policy, but I'm not a foreign policy advisor. I'm just working on the transition team. I'm just saying is if you think that the foreign policy is determined by tweets, you're just wrong.
But no, it's not just that it's a tweet. It's that he is making a pronouncement, whether it's on China or Vladimir Putin being a very smart man, or let's start an arms race. I mean, come on. Like, you're telling us, hey, just ignore that. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I do. I'm telling you I ignore it.
I don't even know how to respond to this. I mean, maybe the tack might have been better if she had said to him, but are you saying it doesn't implicate foreign policy at all? That the president is just sort of saying this stuff? And I guess according to this guy, it absolutely has no impact whatsoever. We're in very strange territory.
Well, I mean, so what is that going to play out like at a summit? The president just promised and threatened to deploy chemical weapons in the South China Sea over tweet.
Ignore it. Now, of course, think about our foreign policy and how much it is a function of like, well, the former president of Iran was at a seminar and he said something that has been loosely translated into Israel should be wiped off the map. Like, that becomes the cornerstone of every foreign policy argument in this country for 5 years.
By the way, that's a complete mistranslation of what he said.
Well, that's what I just said.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's not even,
But my point being, like, we see it play out in this country.
Yes, but is this the first? But
Putin was just on a horseback ride when he said we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Oh yeah, don't take that seriously.
Putin has actually never said anything remotely as irresponsible as what Trump says, and even Ahmadinejad didn't either. But I mean, honestly, but I think the other thing is though is like, does this bizarrely correlate with the war with the deep state? Because I mean, that is how I would interpret, like we were saying, the release of this. But is this the first time in American history? Like, actually, Matt, were there any times with Nixon where there was any even conversation in the military command at all of like, if he says to drop an actual like nuke on Cambodia, maybe we have to like cross-reference that with each other versus just do it.
Yeah, no, they
Right.
actually took I think Schlesinger said disregard any
Just
military
disregard.
orders coming from the.
So
the
is this
United
going to be
States.
just like a formalization of like just ignore his Twitter feed and we'll conduct diplomacy? Because we have a constitutional crisis to protect like basic human survival.
Well, maybe what can happen is the State Department could set up their own Twitter feed as a way of communicating around the world to ignore Donald Trump's Twitter feed.
And do like a nested quote and saying disregard this.
annotated Trump actually
But-
did not threaten to quote wipe Guam off of the face of the earth because I forgot that we own Guam.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Subscribe.